turn to 1 Kings chapter 19. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So may the God do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by this time tomorrow." Then he was afraid, and he rose and ran for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into a wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree, and he asked that he might die, saying, "It is enough now, O Lord, to take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." And he lay down and slept under a broom tree. And behold, an angel touched him, and also said to him, "Arise and eat." And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones, and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." And he rose and ate and drank. And he went in the strength of the food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. All right. So last week we discussed what Elijah did with the priest of Baals and Asherah, and they compete each other. Then Elijah said, "Let's see who is the true God." And then he brought the fire down from the heaven to actually burn the altars with the waters. And he was able to actually grab all the priests and chop them off. And then was a great victory for Elijah. And then he brought the rain down after 3.5 years. So he actually showed and demonstrated miraculous, the work of God, and everyone who was there, including the Ahab king, watched the work of the Lord, and it amazed everyone who was there. Even after he had done, this great miracle, something that no one ever seen before, or something that they can say, "Oh, it could happen just coincidentally." They could not deny that this was the work of the Lord. But even after he is the one who actually performed this miracle, and Jezebel said, "You killed all my prophets? I'm going to make you like one of those prophets you killed yesterday. I'm going to kill you too." Soon as she threatened Elijah, Elijah was scared and ran away. And how far he ran away? He went to Beersheba. Do you know where Beersheba is? Does anyone know where Beersheba is? No? Well, then we'll take a look at it. Let's see if I can pull the map. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you see my screen. So Judah is here, right? Judah is here, and all this up here, this is all Israel. Okay? And remember, when we hear Israel as united a kingdom, where do they actually usually say from where, what city to what city? Nobody remembers? No, the city to city. What is the top of the city and what is the lowest of the city when we talk about Israel? They always say this. From Dan to Beersheba. Right? Dan to Beersheba. Right here. You see this Dan? This is Dan. Up here, up north. Let me just blow this up. You see this Dan? I'm sorry, not Dan. This is Dan. This is the top of the city. And usually when they talk about Israel, the top of the city is the Dan, and the bottom of the city is the Beersheba, which is right here. It's a part of the Judah. It was actually the land of Simeon, but it was part of the Judah. So remember, when we talk about city, from where to where? Dan to Beersheba. But after the kingdom is divided between north of Israel and south of Judah, and the north of Israel, we always just say Dan to where? Bethel. Dan to Bethel. This is why Jeroboam actually built the altar at Dan and Bethel, because that was the top of the city and that's the bottom of the city of the north of Israel. And south of Judah, Israel, the Judah is Jerusalem to Beersheba. Okay? So now, after Elijah had heard the news from Jezebel that Jezebel was threatening Elijah that he will kill Elijah. So he actually ran to where? Beersheba, which is the bottom right here. Okay? So he ran as far as he could run away from Jezebel. Not only he just came across to Judah, that was not good enough for him. So he just did not just move to Judah, but he went all the way down to Beersheba, which means he went to the last city, the bottom of Judah, and ran away from Jezebel. So you can tell how far he actually ran away. Right? So where is the Mount Carmel? You see this like mountain over here? Right here? Let me just blow this up a little bit. You see this? This is the Mount Carmel. That's where he actually built the altar. And then from here to where? Oops. From here all the way down to here. You can see how far he traveled, right? And you can see how scared he was to run away from Jezebel. He just run as far as he could possibly go. Right? So then the question is, all right, I mean, we're talking Elijah here. Elijah is one of the, the best examples of prophets in Old Testament. When people talk about who is the best prophet, usually they call out Elijah as the best one. But how did Elijah, who actually performed this miraculous sign of the Lord, is scared and run away from Jezebel? This is the part that I just kept mentioning. Please do not symbolize or be, look up to any particular individuals or any prophets or any kings or anyone in the Old Testament to look up to. Because all these people are represented who Jesus is and what Jesus will do, but nothing more or nothing less. Of course, there are he was a godly person, but not more to really admire, not to follow their trail. They are just like us, meaning that he was one of those person who feel the fears of this threatens that he got. Let's take a look at James chapter 5 for a second. James, let's go to James chapter 5. James chapter 5, we're going to read from verse 17 and 18. Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, and he prayed fervently that it might not rain, and for 3 years and 6 months it did not rain on the earth. The key part is this: Elijah was a man with a nature like ours. What does that mean? He is just like us. He's not special. He is just like a man like you and me. No different. Which means one day he has a strong faith, another day he's just like, he just is scared of the man or scared of the people. Aren't we like that? We are just as weak as anyone else. Elijah was no different. One day he was a man of faith, another day he was not. So he is just one of those people like us, is what Bible is telling us. Coming back to First King. So he ran to Beersheba, and when he reached there, he left his servant there, right? And then what did he say? Take a look at verse 4. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under the broom tree. So which means he left his servant at Beersheba, but he continued his journey down to wilderness. So he went further down. He did not stop at Beersheba, but he went to wilderness. How long? Days into the wilderness. So he was running as far as he could because he was scared of Jezebel, that she may actually send the people to chase after him and kill him. So he just ran as far as he could. And then one day he was just tired, hungry. He was just sitting under the broom tree, and he just fell asleep. angel came to him and wake him up and said, "Get up. I want you to eat something." And there was a bread, there was a water that he was able to actually eat and recover. But what? Let's continue on and see what he's saying. And he asked that he might die. Say, it is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, and for I am no better than my fathers. What is he saying? What is he saying? Kill me. I don't want to live. I don't want to be chased like this. I mean, Lord, I have done what you asked me to do. But Jezebel is like, coming after me and try to kill me. I don't want this anymore, Lord. I'm tired of this. Just kill me. Don't bother me. Like, why are you doing this to me? I can't do this anymore. Just kill me. Can you imagine how tired he was? That he'd just rather die rather than being chased by Jezebel. And because he has a right reason. Because when you think about it, once again, you have to put yourself in his shoes. He had done all this miraculous sign. Then what would you expect? Everyone is coming to the Lord and say, "Oh God, Lord, you're the true God," and everybody bow down and then coming to the Lord and praise about what Elijah did. Well, that's what you're expecting. But no one was helping him. And he was alone. I'm tired, Lord. I can't do this anymore. I'd rather die. Kill me, Lord. Doesn't this sound similar to what someone said in the Old Testament? Exactly. When did Moses say like that? About Exactly. So let's go back to Numbers chapter 11. Exactly what Tony said. Let's hear his complaint. Numbers chapter 11, verse 10 and on. Moses heard the people weeping through their clans, every one at the door of his tent. And the anger of the Lord blazed hotly, and Moses was displeased. Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you dealt ill with your servant? And why have I not found favor in your sight that you lay the burden of all this people on me? Did I conceive all this people? Did I give them birth? That you should say to me, carry them in your bosom as a nurse carry a nursing child to the land that you swore to give their fathers? Where am I to get meat to give to all these people? For they weep before me and say, give us meat that we may eat. I am not able to carry all these people alone, and burden is too heavy for me. If you will treat me like this, kill me at once, if I find favor in your sight, that I may not see my wretchedness." Moses saying the same exact thing. When people just came up to his camp and they said, give us a meat. And then he said, complaining to Lord, "Lord, are they my child? Did I conceive them? Why are you putting so much pressures and burden on me? I can't do this anymore. Kill me. I can't bear this burden anymore. I'd rather die." We may say "Oh my God, Moses is complaining like this?" People doesn't even know Moses is complaining like this. How dare Moses complaining to the Lord like this? But he did. Moses is not the only one. Elijah is not the only one. There are so many people in the Bible. They just came up to the Lord and complained to the Lord. If I were God, and I said, really? Okay, let me just kill you. Yeah, simple as that. You don't want it? All right, so be it. But that's not what God did. Your work is not done. You don't understand my heart. You think this is too much burden for you? How about the burden that God had? How many times that Israelites complained to the Lord? They did not have this, they did not have this. Every time that God provided something, they always complained rather than thanking the Lord. How many times they hurt the Lord, even though God had done so much work for them? Did they really care for what God had done for them? How many times that God actually, saved them? How many times that God actually gave them what they wanted? Or more than what they asked for? They didn't care. They're very selfish and they always ask for what they want. But once they got what they want, they completely forgot about the Lord. They don't remember what God did. And how appreciate just momentarily, thank you, that's it. Just like when you try to give something to your child that they said, thank you, and then you never see them again. Next time you see is when they need them again. Of course, you will give them again, and then give them again. But you know what? It hurts your heart because they only come to you when they need something. No other time they come to you and then kiss your, a cheek and say, I love you, Mom, or I love you, Dad. I thank you for what you have done to me. You're not asking anything more. You're not asking them to give you like big gift. All you want is their love. Just show your gratitude, how appreciate they are. That's more than enough. The thoughtful word, just one just gesture and say, I love you, Mom. Thank you. That's all you want. And that's not what Israelites showing or giving it to the Lord. That hurt the Lord so much, as much you were hurted by your own child. Moses complained. Elijah was complained. They both complained. They were no different than us. Just like we complain. Here's what you need to think about. What is God's heart now? After God showed this miraculous signs to Ahab and the people of Israel, but still don't turn their heart towards the Lord. Have you ever thought about how God feels about this? Do we care how he feels? Do you think the Israelites care? Does Elijah have room to think about how God feels? Right now, he doesn't. All he thinks about is my life. Jezebel is coming after me. He has no room to think about how God feels. You're God, Lord. You worry about yourself. I have problems that I have to worry about myself because Jezebel is coming after me. My life, it is in danger, and I'm tired, and kill me. And then next things, verse 5 and on. And he lay and slept under the broom tree, and behold, the angel touched him and said to him, Arise and eat. And looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. Did Elijah asked for food? No. He didn't even ask for food. But who provided the food? God did. He didn't ask for it. He said, kill me, is what he asked for. But rather God was giving him food and water that he needs. I want you to eat. I want you to strengthen. I need you to think about how God feels about this. What is God's heart? God cares about Elijah. I understand how hard is it for you, my servant Elijah. I know it is not easy for you. But be courageous. Eat this food. Strengthen. I am with you. God is taking care of Elijah. He's worrying about his wellness right now. While Elijah is only thinking about, like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And then, angel came back second time. Prepare food and water again. I want you to eat. Strengthened. Once again, Elijah didn't ask for food. But God still provided. Twice. You need to eat. Here's the food. Here's the water. And then, verse 9. No, actually verse 7. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you. What is God worrying about it? His journey. But where is he going? Where is he going? We'll find out. Verse 8. And he rose and ate and drank and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God. Where is the mount of Horeb? That's a Mount Sinai. Where is that Mount Sinai? Correct. He went as far as the down of the wilderness, where the Mount Sinai, where the Mount Horeb is. So, he ran all the way down. He did not stop at Beersheba, but he had to go all the way down. And God was feeding him, because there's a long way for you to go. So God was actually sending him to Horeb. Do you know what Horeb means? Horeb means waste. It's garbage. Horeb means literally it's desolate, devastated, laid waste. It's garbage. Completely, utterly ruined. Now, this mountain called Horeb, as well as Mount Sinai, there's two names. But God sent him to Horeb. Why is God sending him to Horeb? We're going to find out. Verse 9. There he came to a cave and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, What are you doing here, Elijah? He said, I have been very jealous for the Lord and God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophet with the sword. And I, even I, only am left, and they seek my life to take away. And he said, Go out and stand on the mount before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by. The great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rock before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after fire, the sound of a low whisper. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Behold, there came a voice to him and said, What are you doing here, Elijah? He said, I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophet with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And the Lord said to him, Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria, and Jehu, the son of Nimshi, you shall anoint to be king over Israel, and Elisha, the son of Shaphat, Abel Meholah, you shall anoint to be prophet in your place. And one who escapes from the sword of Hazael shall Jehu put to death. And the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. Once again, God led him to Horeb. He finally reached at Horeb. He stayed in the cave of the Horeb. And that's when he called Elijah and said, What are you doing? I don't know about you, but to me, it's a weird question. So, you don't know where he is? So, you don't know why he's here? Remember when Adam and a woman have sinned in the Garden of Eden? What was God's question? Exactly. Where are you? Let's think about it. God does not know where he is hiding. Is that why he was asking you? I can't find you. Where are you? Just come up. I can't find you where you are. Where are you? Is he really looking? God does not know why he is there and where, what he's doing over there. Why, Is that why God is asking, what are you doing here? As if he does not know anything? You may just take it as, okay, God asked a question. All right, no problem. But to me, this question is weird. Why is he asking? If someone else, if it is not God asking this, if I'm asking, what are you doing? It makes sense. But if God is asking, where are you? What are you doing? I don't understand. Why are you asking this question? You already know. You brought him here. You don't know why he actually ran to this Horeb? What is this question? What are you asking, really? What is he really asking? If you don't understand, then you cannot understand this context. You have to understand why God is asking this question. What are you doing here? Do you know what you're doing? And he complained, Lord, I have a zeal for the Lord. I'm the only one who came, just really worshipped you and adored you and fear you. None of the Israelites care about you. And I actually brought the fire down from heaven and burned the altar, show that you are the Lord. Now they're coming after me and asking for my life now. He complained again. And the Lord said, is this, verse 11, one more time. And he said, go out and stand on the mount before the Lord. Elijah, come out of the cave. I want you to stand before the Lord. Soon as it stand before the Lord, outside of the cave, and what happened? The Lord was passed by, and the great and strong wind tore the mountain. It's not a small breeze was blowing. It was a very, very strong wind blew through. But God was not there. How strong the wind was? It broke to pieces the rock before the Lord. That's how strong the winds were. The wind was just splitting the rock. Very strong wind. God was not there. And then there was an earthquake. The whole earth was like shaking. Whole mountain was shook. Whoa! But God was not there. And there was a fire. Do you think Elijah thought it was a God doing this? Or it was just like natural thing was happening? Obviously, Elijah knew it was God who was doing this. Wind, earthquake, fire, it was all God's work. The fire went through it. God was not there. When the amazing things happened, God did not show himself. He did not see where God was. But after all this miraculous things that he has experienced, and he could not see where God is. But then, after the wind, after the earthquake, after the fire had gone, and there was a small whisper, there's small sound, that he had to actually pay attention to. What is this? Someone is whispering. That's the first time he heard God's voice. Elijah. And then, soon after he heard God's voice, what did he do? Go back here. At the end of verse 12, and after fire, the sound of a low whisper, and when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. When this wind blew through, when this earthquake came down, he didn't even know what to do. He did not wrap his face with cloth. But when he heard the low voice whispering, that's when he wrapped his face with the cloak. When? When he heard the voice. But the voice was not loud. It was not the sound of a thunder, but rather it was a very low whispering sound. that you have to pay attention to what he's saying. Who is saying this? Now, how do you expect to hear God's voice in your life? Do you expect to hear God's voice like the thunder of a sound that is coming to you that said, calling your name? No, that's not how it comes. But rather he whisper. That you have to pay attention. Huh? What did you say, Lord? Did you say something? How did you hear? When the amazing thing is happening? No. When nothing is happening, he's whispering to you. Continue on. He asked again, "What are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing here?" So, once again, why did God bring him down here? What purpose did he have in mind that he brought Elijah to Horeb? What happened to Horeb? Let's turn to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Deuteronomy chapter 4. I'm going to read. "And now, O Israel, listen to the statute and the rules that I am teaching you to do them, that you may live and go in and take possession of the land that the Lord, the God of your father, is giving you. You shall not add to the word that I command you, not take from it, that you may keep the commands of the Lord your God that I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did at Baal Peor. For the Lord your God destroyed from among you all the men who followed the Baal of Peor. But you, who held fast to the Lord your God, are all alive today. See, I have taught you statutes and rules as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do them in the land that you are entering to take possessions of it. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the people, who, when they hear all the statute, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us, whenever we call upon him? And what great nation is there that has a statute and rules as so righteous as all this law that I have set before you today? Only take care and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things that your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life. Make them known to your children and your children's children, how on the day that you stood before the Lord your God at Horeb, the Lord said to me, gather the people at me, that I may let them hear my words, so that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live on the earth, and that they may teach their children so." This is what he heard, what he experienced at Mount of Horeb. Who? Moses did. And what did he say? Verse 4. "But you who held fast to the Lord your God are all alive today." Is Elijah alive? Absolutely. Why? Because you held it fast. You hold on to the Lord. I protected you. I am with you. Do not fear. No matter what happened, I am with you. Not when you see the great and miraculous sign that I'm there. No. When you don't even realize that I'm here, I am here with you. Not when the wind blows. Not when earthquake comes. Not when the fire went through. No. Not when you see this miraculous sign. No. When you can't even realize that I'm there. When you don't even realize that I am near you. That you can't even hear my voice. I am right there with you. And who am I? Whoever hold my word, I will take care of them. This was exactly what Moses experienced. And the reason why God brought Elijah back to Horeb was remind him what I said to Moses at the Mount of Horeb. I sent you there. I gave you the command to the Mount of Waste. Everything is completely destroyed. God's altar is destroyed. God's law is destroyed. God's statute and regulations and everything was completely destroyed. Now, from this place, I am going to rebuild Israel again. Through who? Through you, Elijah. What is Elijah means? Elijah means El and Yahweh means Lord. God is my Lord. That's what Elijah means. Where he's starting? From the place everything was completely destroyed. At the Mount of Horeb. I'm starting all over again. Through you. As I have done with Moses. I am with you. Now I want you to eat bread and water. Strengthened. Encouraged. It is not you will be doing. It is me doing this through your work. Elijah was thinking, it was me, my zeal, my fearness. No, it's got nothing to do with you. It is me. You're standing there. Do my work. Because it is not you doing the work, but rather I am doing the work. You rely on me. And he kept complaining. Lord, look at this. I'm the only one who left. And what is he saying? Really? No, that's what you're thinking. By the way, now I want you to go back to where you came from. Now you have to go to Damascus, which is like way, way up. I'm going to show you where the Damascus is. You go all the way up to Damascus. I want you to pour oils and stand up the king of Aram. Wow. When did God even care about the king of Aram? Not even a king of Israel. King of Aram. I want you to put oils and stand up the king of Aram. And now, I want you to have your successor, Elisha. I want you to stand him after you. He will carry on from where you left off. It is not only you, but I'm building up the people. Whether they are a God person or not, I will use them for the glory of the Lord. One of them was king of Aram, which does not know about God or does not fear about the Lord, but God still used him for the glory of the Lord. And Elisha, of course, he was the one who come after Elijah to carry on his legacy and continue on the God's work. And then, verse 18 says, "Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, every mouth that has not kissed him." Did you say you're the only one who's left in Israel? You have no idea. There are 7,000 people who did not kneel down before Baal. Just because you did not see them, just because you did not know them, does not mean you're the only one who's left in the land of Israel. I don't want you to get this. I don't want you to think you're the only one who's left. There are 7,000 others. But you know what? I'm going to ask you this. What were this 7,000 doing when Elijah was doing all this work by himself, that he felt he was the only one who's left? Where were 7,000 when Elijah was doing all this work? Did they just come right out and supported Elijah? No. They didn't even show up. They didn't even say a word before Ahab or Jezebel. Who are these people? Of course, they did not kneel down before Baal, but does that mean they actually came out and they shouted about the Lord and how great God is? No. They zipped it. They didn't say a word. Yeah, there were 7,000. They kept their faith only by themselves, not to show to anyone. They did not know there was 7,000 because they're hiding behind the door. Even today, we have those people. They're Christians. No one knows you're a Christian. No one knows that you are the believer because you only talk about Jesus when you're in church. You don't talk about Jesus. You don't talk about God's word outside of church. Only within your family. Only within your very close friend. Only your church sisters and brothers. Only know that you're a Christian. Nobody else knows you are. Even demon does not know. The demon does not even know you're a Christian. Can God use them? No. God cannot use them. So what can God do about these people, 7,000 people? They're a believer. They have a faith. They did not bow down before the Baal, but they don't do anything. They only keep their own faith, and that's it. They're afraid of just reveal themselves. I'll tell you, as the end time near, there is going to be a gazillion Christians like this. They keep it for themselves. They have a faith. They believe in God, but they don't say a word. They just close their mouth. Don't say anything. They only keep their own faith. That's it. God cannot use them at all. But you know what? Even though they don't do anything, God still counts on them. Those are 7,000. Even though they didn't do a thing for the Lord, God counted them. And they go into the salvation. Even though they didn't do a thing about the Lord. Remember the parable that Jesus was giving, that one of the masters of the vineyard, he went out in the street, right? He brought the workers in the morning, at noon, in the afternoon, at late hours. The worker came into the vineyard and they worked. So when the master of the vineyard gave the pay to the person who came late hours, only worked for 1 hour, he got paid. So the person who came in the morning and said, well, if the guy came in, only worked for 1 hour and he got the full pay, wow, I'm going to get double or triple or quadruple of the pay. Because I worked since morning, he only worked for 1 hour. But when he only got the pay, what he was promised, they complain. What is this? Why am I getting paid for this? And the master said, didn't I make a did I make a promise with you that I will pay this money when you come and work in my vineyard? Yes. Why are you complaining? Because the guy who just came in 1 hour ago, he only actually worked for 1 hour. He got the same pay as I did. It's not fair. The master said, you don't have to worry about him. I made a promise with him that I will pay it. So why do you complain to me that I pay you the money that I said that I will pay to you? Even though he got paid for what he actually promised to be paid, he complained because he thought it was unfair. If God was treating Elijah versus the 7,000 people didn't do a thing, Elijah may say like, well, wait a second, Lord, this is not fair. I was actually risking my life and then doing all this miraculous work. I actually just competing against this 850, the priest. And you're paying me this, you're treating me the same as this versus like 7,000 who hid themselves behind the door. Are you treating me the same way? That's not fair. But God is saying, it is fair. The more you get, the more you pay. The less you get, the less you pay. If I give you more, you do more work. If I give less, they will spend less because that's what I gave you. From God's point of view, whether it's Elijah or these 7,000 people who didn't do a thing, God treat them the same way. God saved them the same way. God counts them the same way. And some may say like, okay, well, if God treats the same way as the person who actually dedicate themselves a whole life doing all this God's work versus the person who just came last minute and do a thing and then treated the same way, you know what? I'm going to hands off. I'm not going to do anything because he's going to count the same way. Well, I'm going to come in at the last door, last minute. I'll be treated the same as the person who's just gave their entire life. If you say that, you never been touched by the Lord ever. You don't know who God is. From my point of view, I don't care. Whether I gave my entire life, risking my life and loving the Lord versus who didn't do anything and scared of things and it treated the same way, I don't care. You know why? I don't care how much he loves the Lord. I care about how much I love the Lord. What I can do for the Lord because I love them so much. Because I love the Lord, I want to give it more. I don't care how much he loves the Lord. It's not my business. But for me, there's so much that I've been loved by the Lord. I want to give it back. It's not so much I can give it back. I can never pay back for what I received, but I want to do something for it, even though it didn't mean anything to him. Because I really thank for what God had done for me. So the question is, are you the Elijah? Or are you the one of those 7,000 didn't do a thing that God could not even use? But you will still be saved. You still be counted. You still not bow down before Baal. You will still be treated the same way as Elijah. Which one would you be? It's your choice. You could be Elijah, or you could be one of those 7,000. I'd rather be Elijah rather than a person of one of those 7,000 behind the door. And God is asking you too. It's your choice. Either way, you will be saved. God is gracious. He complained and complained. But you know what? For those of the people who doesn't know God is near versus the people who knows that God is near, here's the difference. I want you to turn to Psalm chapter 139. Psalm chapter 139. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hands upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost part of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. For you formed my inward parts. You kneaded me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depth of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O Lord, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, there are more than the sand. I wake, and I am still with you. On that you would slay the wicked, O God, O man of blood, that depart from me. They speak against you with the malicious intent. Your enemies take your names in vain. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with complete hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. This is a psalm of David, who knew wherever he goes, he knew God is there. He cannot hide from God because he's everywhere. No matter where I go, you're right there with me, Lord. I cannot hide from you. You're always there no matter where I go. You're with me. I cannot hide from you, Lord. Whereas Elijah was completely lost when he was fearful because he was afraid of Isabel. Elijah completely lost. You're not there, Lord. In the wind, you're not there. After earthquake, you're not there. After fire, you're not there. I don't know where you are. I'm alone. I don't know where you are, Lord. But David knew, Lord, just because I don't see, that doesn't mean you're not there. You're always there. Even if I goes to the end of the earth, you're there with me. Even though I goes to the shore, you're right there with me. You never left me. You for me. You know my thoughts. You're always with me. No matter where I am, what I've been going through, you're right there beside me. When you are apart from the Lord, when you don't know, when you completely lost the Lord, that's exactly how you feel. Where are you, Lord? You search for him. You know what? He's right there with you. He never left you. He's right there with you. Because he's living in you. No matter where you go, He's right there. But you will feel alone, and you felt your light away from the Lord when you lose Him. When you're close with Him, you will know He's right there with you. When you're not close with Him, you'll be completely lost. You're going to start searching for Him. Where are you? Where are you, Lord? Come to me. Where are you? He's right there with you. You just don't know it. Let's turn to Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah chapter 23. We're going to read from verse 23 and on. Am I a God at hand, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Can a man hide himself in secret place so that I cannot see him, declares the Lord? Do I not fill heaven and earth, declared the Lord? What is He saying? I'm not far away. I'm right there with you. I am everywhere. How come you don't see me? How come you don't hear me? Even though I'm right behind you, you don't even recognize that I'm there. This is what happened when you are tired, when you are scared of this world, when the situation of this world has overwhelmed you. You completely lose Him. You feel like you just completely lost Him. But He's not lost you. You lost Him. He's right there with you. You just don't see Him. You just don't recognize Him. And there are 7,000 people, God said, in Israel. But you know what? Let's turn to Romans chapter 11. Romans chapter 11. We're going to read from chapter 11, verse 1. I ask, then God rejected His people? By no means. For I myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham, a member of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not rejected His people whom He foreknew. Do you not know what the scriptures say about Elijah? How he appeals to God against Israel? Lord, they have killed your prophets, they have demolished your altars, and I alone am left, and they seek my life. But what is God replied to him? I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. But if it is by grace, it is no longer on the basis of works. Otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. So who kept them? God kept them. Because of their work? By no means. By the grace of the Lord, God kept 7,000. Not because their faith was as strong. This is the message that you have to hear. Of course, it is not explained in Old Testament, but is now explained in New Testament. What this means, that he left the 7,000 means. coming back to 1 Kings verse 19. So he departed from there and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen in front of him. And he was with 12th. Elijah passed by him and cast his cloak upon him. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, Let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you. And he said to him, Go back again, for what have I done to you? And he returned from following him and took the yoke of oxen and sacrificed them and boiled the deer flesh with the yokes of the oxen and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and went after Elijah and assisted him. Let me ask you this. We know Elisha very well, and how great his ability and how much work he had done in Israel. But what was Elisha was doing when Elijah was doing all this great work? What was Elisha was doing? He was busy taking care of his cows, his ox. He wasn't doing anything. This amazing prophet Elisha wasn't doing anything. He was busy at work. He wasn't thinking about doing anything for the Lord. He wasn't even coming out when Elijah was doing all this great work. Do you think he has heard what Elijah had done? Of course it did. What was he doing? He was busy at work, taking care of his family. He wasn't doing anything until he was called out by Elijah. But what he did was, when Elijah said, he just threw the cloak over him, and he knew exactly what that means. And then he had a 12 ox. You know what that means? He was a rich guy. He was a rich guy. He was carrying 12 ox all at once. But he threw everything away. He left everything behind. He just left everything and then followed Elijah. What about the wealthy young man who came and asked Jesus, I want to receive eternal life? And God said, What did the law say? Oh, I've done all these things, Lord. What else do I have to do? Oh, go back and sell everything what you have and follow me. And then what did he do? He had a long face and walked away from the Lord. What was in his heart? His wealth was more important than his eternal life that he was asking. We can truly know. Yes, he definitely had interest in eternal life. He wanted it. It just was not as important as wealth. What about Elisha? He dropped everything, what he had, and then followed Elijah. So what was first in him? Following Elijah was more important than 12 ox and the wealth that he left behind. He didn't care what he had. He just followed the Lord. He knew exactly what God was asking him for. Once again, we could ask ourselves, are we one of those 7,000? Or are we one of those Elijah or Elisha? Chapter 20. Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his army together. 32 kings were with him, and horses and chariots, and he went up and closed in on Samaria and fought against it. And he sent messenger into the city of Ahab, king of Israel, and said to him, Thus says Ben-Hadad, your silver and your gold are mine, your best wives and children are also mine. And the king of Israel answered, As you say, my lord, O king, I am yours and all that I have. The messengers came against and said, Thus says Ben-Hadad, I sent you, saying, Deliver to me your silver and your gold and your wives and your children. Nevertheless, I will send all my servant to you tomorrow about this time, and they shall search your house and the house of your servants, and lay hands on whatever pleases you, and take it away. Then the king of Israel called all the elders of the land and said, Mark now, and see how this man is seeking trouble for he sent to me for my wives and my children's, and for my silver and my gold, and I did not refuse him. And all the elders and all the people said to him, Do not listen or consent. So he said to the messenger of Ben-Hadad, Tell my lord the king, all that you first demanded of your servant I will do, but these things I cannot do. And the messenger departed and brought him word again. Ben-Hadad sent to him and said, The God to do so to me, and more also, if the dust of Samaria shall suffice for handfuls for all the people who follow me. And the king of Israel answered, Tell him, let not him who straps on his armor boast himself as he who takes it off. When Ben-Hadad heard this message, as he was drinking with the kings in the booth, he said to this man, Take your positions. And they took their positions against the city. And behold, a prophet came near to Ahab, king of Israel, and said, Thus says the Lord, have you seen all this great multitude? Behold, I will give it into your hands this day, and you shall know that I am the Lord. And Ahab said, By whom? He said, Thus says the Lord, excuse me, by the servant of the governors of this district. Then he said, Who shall begin the battle? He answered, You. Then he mustered the servant of the governors of the district, and they were 232. And after them he mustered all the people of Israel, 7,000. And they went out at noon while Ben-Hadad was drinking himself drunk in the booth, and he and 32 kings who helped him. The servant of the governor of the district went out first, and Ben-Hadad sent out scouts. And they reported to him, Men are coming out from Samaria. He said, If they have come out for peace, take them alive. Or if they have come out for war, take them alive. So these went out of the city, the servant of the governor of the district, and an army that followed him. And each struck down his man, and Syrians fled, and Israel pursued them. But Ben-Hadad, the king of Assyria, escaped on a horse with horsemen. And the king of Israel went out and struck the horses and chariots, and struck the Syrians with a great blow. Now, let me ask you this. Did Ahab do anything good to the Lord to deserve this? He didn't do a thing to deserve this. Was Ahab so strong enough that he was able to defeat the Syrian? No. Nothing to do with it. Then the question is this. Why did God do this? Why did God do this? Let's continue on. And we'll come back to find out exactly why he did this. Then the prophet came near to the king of Israel and said to him, Come, strengthen yourself and consider well what you have to do. For in the springs the king of Assyria will come up against you. And the servant of the king of Syria said to him, Their gods are God of the hills, and so they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. And do this, remove the kings each from his post, and put commanders in their places, and musters an army like the army that you have lost, a horse for horse and chariot for chariot. Then we will fight against them in the plain, and surely we shall be stronger than they. And he listened to their voice and did so. In the spring Ben-Hadad mustered the Syrians and went up to Aphek to fight against Israel. And the people of Israel were mustered and were provisions, and went against them. The people of Israel encamped before them like two little flocks of goats. But the Syrian filled the country. And a man of God came near and said to the king of Israel, Thus says the Lord, because the Syrians have said, The Lord is God of the hills, but he is not God of the valleys. Therefore I will give all the great multitude into your hand, and you shall know that I am the Lord. And they encamped opposite one another 7 days, and then On the seventh day, the battle just joined, and the people of Israel struck down of the Syrians 100,000 foot soldiers in one day, and the rest fled into the city of Aphek, and a wall fell upon 27,000 men who were left. Ben-Hadad also fled and entered an inner chamber in the city, and his servant said to him, Behold, now we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. Let us put sackcloth around our waist and ropes on our heads and go out to the kings of Israel. Perhaps he will spare your life. So they tied a sackcloth around their waist and put ropes on their heads and went to the king of Israel and said, Your servant Hadad says, Please let me live. And he said, Does he still live? He is my brother. Now the men were watching for a sign, and they quickly took it up from him and said, Yes, your brother Ben-Hadad. Then he said, Go and bring him. Then Ben-Hadad came out to him, and he caused him to come up into the chariot. And Ben-Hadad said to him, The cities that my father took from your father I will restore, and you may establish a bazaar for yourself in Damascus, as my father did in Samaria. And Ahab said, I will let you go on those terms. So he made a covenant with him and let him go. And a certain man of the son of the prophet said to his fellow at the command of the Lord, Strike me, please. But the man refused to strike him. Then he said to him, Because you have not obeyed the voice of the Lord, behold, as soon as you have gone from me, a lion shall strike you down. And as soon as he had departed from him, a lion met him and struck him down. Then he found another man and said, Strike me, please. And the man struck him, and wounded him. So the prophet departed and waited for the king by the way, disgusting himself with the bandage over his eyes. And as the king passed, he cried to the king and said, Your servant went out into the midst of the battles, and behold, a soldier turned and brought a man to me and said, Guard this man. If by any means he is missing, your life shall be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver. And as your servant was busy here and there, he was gone. The king of Israel said to him, So shall your judgment be. You yourself have decided. Then he hurried to take the bandage away from his eyes, and the king of Israel recognized him as one of the prophets. And he said to him, Thus says the Lord, because you have let go out of your hands the man whom I had devoted to destructions, therefore your life shall be for his life, and your people for his people. And the king of Israel went to his house vexed and sullen, and came to Samaria. Do you remember the story of King Saul? God told Samuel to remove the Amalekite and kill them all, but Saul actually spared the king of Amalekites, Agag, and he brought Agag along with all these good animals. And then Samuel said, What are these? And he said, Well, I brought this because, the animals are good to just, give it to the Lord. I spared the Agag, but I killed everything else. What was the answer? I told you to remove everything, not to spare anything, but you did. So God forsake you because you did not obey the Lord. It's almost the same thing. God wanted to destroy this Syrians, but he refused. But he thought he was strong. He thought he was doing all this work. He was thinking that he was great, his soldiers were great, that he won this battle. And he was showing his, a mercy to this Ben-Hadad. Oh, you're my brother. I'll spare your life. As if he was actually being a good man, while God was trying to destroy them all. He refused to listen to the Lord. And rather, he was literally thinking that he was doing all this by himself. But going back to the question that I asked at the beginning, why did God do this? although Ahab wasn't doing anything for the Lord. He wasn't even believing in him. Why did God actually allow Ahab to win this battle? What is the reason? Can you find the reason? Well, the answer was there. We read it actually in the scripture. He said it twice. Exactly. To show him that I am the Lord. I am the true Lord. I want to show you I am the Lord. I am the one doing this. I want you to know that I am the Lord of Israel. He was doing to show him. Just like he was demonstrating to Egyptians, pouring down those 10 plagues. I am the Lord to Egyptians, Pharaohs, Israelites, and all the surrounding countries who hear this news, including the people like us who's going to be reading all these stories, all the descendants, so they all know God is the Lord. It was teaching him that I am the Lord. But he refused. And he was thinking, because the God used his hands and his army to defeat the Syrians, he thought he was the one who was doing all this by himself. No, it's nothing to do with his work. It was God who was driving this. And he was the one who was actually giving the Syrians into Ahab's hands to win this battle. The battle does not belong to man. Battle belongs to the Lord. But he thought he was doing it by himself. Just like Saul did. He thought he was the one who was actually doing the work. No, you're not. God continued to show himself, I am the Lord. But we refuse. And then we always think that we did this. Oh, because I'm smart. Oh, because I'm capable. Oh, because I can do this. You take all the credit for the work of the Lord. I tell you, it is not your work. Not because you are smart. Not because you are capable. Because God helped you. Because of the grace of the Lord, we were able to do what we were able to do. And for those people who recognize and realize that it was a God's work, like David did, he thanked the Lord and he fulfills the work that God has assigned to him. But for those foolish people, they don't even realize. They think they did the work and they forgot what they're assigned to do. Just like Ahab. He was one of those foolish men. And he led Ahab away. He was just showing off how generous he was, how merciful he was. My brother, listen. Ben-Hadad was trying to kill Israelites, God's people. And he let Ben-Hadad go. I wanted to finish all this, but I won't be able to finish the chapter 21 today or 22 today. So let's just finish it here, and then let's save it 21 and 22 to next week. I was hoping that I can finish this week, but I guess we'll do it next week. Any questions so far up to this point?